When Japanese pilots first saw the new American fighter climbing toward them, they didn't pay much attention. It wasn't sleek or exotic like the Zero, it looked ordinary. But appearances can deceive. Within months, this ordinary machine would destroy Japan's veteran Air Corps and take control of the Pacific skies. Stay until the end to find out how the F6F Hellcat became the most lethal, reliable and respected fighter of the Pacific War, and how even Japan's best aces realized they were up against something they couldn't beat. Born from defeat. In early 1942, America was reeling. Pearl Harbor lay in ruins, and Japanese Zeros dominated the skies over the Pacific. US pilots flying the older F4F Wildcat could hold their own in terms of power and armor, but were outmatched in agility and climb rate. Air Force aces did their best to close these gaps by sheer skill and by adapting their tactics, but American engineers wanted more. They studied every combat report, every captured Zero, and asked one question: how do we beat it more efficiently? Their answer was a machine designed not for elegance, but for victory. The F6F Hellcat, a big, rugged, brutally efficient fighter built to win wars, not beauty contests, forged for the Pacific. The Hellcat was designed around the massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine, giving it the power to climb fast, dive hard, and take punishment no Zero could endure. It wasn't light or delicate, it was a flying tank. Armor plates shielded the pilot, self-sealing fuel tanks prevented explosions, and 6 50-caliber machine guns lined its wings. Every inch of it screamed survivability. Where the Zero danced, the Hellcat stormed in and fired with devastating precision. When Grumman test pilots compared the two, they said simply, "The Hellcat forgives your mistakes, the Zero seldom does." Into the fight. By mid-1943, the Hellcat was ready for war. It entered combat over the Solomon Islands, flown by young, often untested US Navy pilots. Their Japanese opponents were veterans of China, Pearl Harbor and Midway, the best in the world. But this time, the fight was different. The Hellcat could dive away from danger, climb faster and absorb hits that would tear a Zero apart. In a turning battle, the Zero still had the edge, but American pilots had learned their lesson. They used superior tactics: climb, strike, dive, and never linger. The results were devastating. Within months, Hellcats achieved score ratios of 13-1 against Japanese aircraft. The day the skies changed. In 1944, the Hellcat reached its ultimate test, the Great Marianas turkey shoot. Over the Philippine Sea, more than 400 Japanese aircraft launched to stop the American invasion fleet. Waiting for them were hundreds of Hellcats, flown by disciplined, battle-hardened American pilots. The result was a frenzy. Wave after wave of Japanese planes fell in flames. By sunset, nearly 350 had been destroyed, for the loss of only a handful of US fighters. It was the moment Japan's air power was broken. The Hellcat had done what no other aircraft had managed. It wiped out Japan's veteran Air Force almost in a single day. The workhorse of victory, the Hellcat became the backbone of American carrier aviation. It was simple to maintain, easy to fly, and rugged enough to survive the brutal conditions of the Pacific. Pilots loved it, mechanics trusted it, commanders depended on it. It flew from carriers, island bases, and even emergency strips hacked out of coral reefs. By 1945, the Hellcat had destroyed more than 5,000 Japanese aircraft, a record almost no other Allied fighter in history has surpassed. It wasn't flashy like the Mustang or menacing like the Corsair. It was the dependable warrior, the one that never quit. Respect from the enemy. Captured Japanese pilots admitted that the Hellcat was the fighter they feared most. They called it the machine that never falls. One ace recalled that when he saw a Hellcat approaching, he knew escape was unlikely. Its speed, its climb, and its unshakable stability in a dive made it nearly unstoppable. Even as Japan introduced newer aircraft like the Ki-84 and N-1K, they couldn't match the Hellcat's combination of durability and firepower. The war in the air had turned, and it was the Hellcat that led the charge. The legacy of the silent Terminator. By the end of World War II, the F6F Hellcat had achieved one of the most staggering records in aviation history. 19 out of every 20 aerial victories by the US Navy were scored by Hellcats. It was a quiet Terminator, not famous for style, but for results. It never had the glamour of the Mustang or the mystique of the Spitfire, yet it crushed every enemy it met. When peace finally came, thousands of Hellcats were parked in rows, their work finished. But for the men who flew them, it remained more than metal and rivets. It was a symbol of endurance, of teamwork, of a time when technology and training combined to turn the tide of war. And for the pilots who once faced it, the men who watched that dark blue shape appear through the clouds, it was a reminder that America's industrial and human power could not be outflown. This is a true World War II story, because sometimes relying on simple basic principles can determine the outcome of a battle. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more true World War II stories.